Brad Blazar here with another how-to session. In today's session, we're going to talk about another key fundamental building block on your journey to raising more capital. And I call it the trust sequence. It's actually a 6-step process that I have developed over many years in attracting and raising hundreds of millions of dollars in establishing trust and building the key foundation of a relationship. Now, what you're going to learn today actually came out of a book written by a psychologist by the name of Philippe DeConner. You can find his book on Amazon. It's called The Trust Economy. And in that book, he unpacks how our minds go through this process in building relationships with other people. And so I've taken that and I've created my own framework. And today we're going to share with you the trust sequence, just one of the many building blocks we talk about here in our coaching and mentoring program. When you meet somebody, it usually starts with an introduction, right? It might be your elevator pitch. It might be just having a discussion about their prior investments. But the very first stop in what we call the trust sequence really is all about number one. You ready for this? Perception. So if you're going to take notes, perception is step number one. See, an investor's reality defines their beliefs about you, about the opportunity, and more importantly, about moving forward in the process. As I like to say, perception leads to a second date. So perception is very important. They're going to check you out. They're going to obviously Google you. So what perception are you making in your marketing materials, in the quality of your pitch deck, in your website, and in everything that person sees and reads about you and your business? After that, as you start talking to them, you want to become really good at asking questions. Because the second step in the trust sequence is what I call temptation. You see, temptation is where you want to hopefully uncover what will move that investor forward to ultimately make an investment. And so as an example, when I'm talking to people, I'm going to be asking them questions like, Mr. Prospect, when you invest, are you looking for your money to do something special, like put kids through school, or maybe invest in a second home that your family can use for a vacation property? And then I'm going to listen very acutely. And I'm going to pick up on what they're telling me, because everybody has a need for their money to do something. And why that's important, you'll see a little bit later here as we talk about presenting the investment and the opportunity back to them, which is a very important part of this process. After temptation, when you've had 1 or 2 calls with people, you're going to start getting to step number 3. We call this step connection. You're going to feel that you're connecting with that other person. You might notice that they're following you on social media, or that they're being more responsive to your outreach and your emails. And so that's a good sign. And then we get to one very important step. We call this the validation phrase. You see, most capital raisers make the big mistake of basically sending out information or pitching an opportunity to somebody way too early in the process. That's a kiss of death. What the validation phrase does very subconsciously is it validates that this person likes you enough to move forward in the process. And so usually at the end of my second meetup with them, I'll say something very similar to this. Mr. Prospect, I've really enjoyed getting to know you, and I feel like what we do really resonates with you, but as I've explained, right now I just don't have an investment or an opportunity that I can openly share. But what I'd love to do is I keep a list of people on my desk that have expressed interest, and I'd love to reach back out to you when I have an opportunity or an opening in something I think you can get really excited about. Does that logically make sense? And when they nod and say, yes, please do, what they're doing subconsciously is acknowledging that they trust you and they're ready to move forward and hear about an opportunity when the time is right. Once about 7 to 10 days pass, I reach back out to that potential investor and I say, hey, we have an opening or we have an allocation. It just gives me reason to call and I'll pitch them. But here's the secret. When I'm pitching the opportunity or talking about my deal, I go back to what I had uncovered and learned in the temptation phase. And I sell the benefits of that investment to them based on their specific needs. So as an example, if I was interviewing a surgeon or a doctor that, makes a couple $100,000 a year, and he said something like, Brad, one of my biggest problems is the taxes, I would say, can you see how the depreciation and the tax benefits of this investment are going to help solve that problem you communicated to me earlier in our relationship? Or maybe as an example, if the potential investor said they had children to put through college in a few years, I might say something like, can you see how the capital appreciation and the growth of this investment over time is going to help you put your kids through school? And they're going to nod, because money exchanges hands when problems are solved. Now, when it comes to closing, you finally get to step number 5. We call this attachment. So now the people are investors, you've onboarded them, you're proving your value and your worth, hopefully over time. And then you go full cycle, and we call the very last step affiliation. And that's where you want to go back and hopefully extract referrals from people. And the way that we do that is very important. We don't use words like, do you know anyone? Because the mind will shut down. What we say is, who are you connected with that I might also be speaking to? And that opens up the mind, and hopefully they'll start thinking about people in their network that they can connect you to. And of course, you follow that up with a very important question, and that is, would you be kind enough to make an introduction either through email and or text? So folks, this is what I call the trust sequence. 6 steps that, if followed, will give you the blueprint to build trust and lasting relationships with your potential investors. If you like this how-to video, become a subscriber to our YouTube channel and keep coming back regularly for more how-tos and more content, all geared around the art of attracting and raising capital. This is Brad Blazar saying thank you so much. Known around the world as the $2 billion guy, having raised over $2 billion through my efforts and the efforts of teams that we've led and built.